Hi everyone, I've got a fresh batch of Poppy Playtime hot takes fresh out the oven for us to look through. Obviously there are so many Poppy Playtime opinions you can have about the games, the story and the characters. If you have any of your own, please leave them in the comments. I will try and get through as many as I can. Thank you also to the amazing Kirbyster Plays channel members, Austin, Karina, Maria, Sean and Hannah. You people are amazing. Thank you so much for supporting me. Before we begin, I'm Kirbyster Plays. Subscribe if you would like to and I would love it if you did. And yeah, let's get into it. Jackson, the world should have known about the experiments anyway. If this happened in real life, the police and or military would have found them all chilling in the factory sometime after the Hour of Joy. Like there's no way that place wouldn't be investigated after its whole workforce just never left. This is so true, you know, there's a whole world out there that we have not experienced. In case you've lost track, all of these games have taken place in Playtime Co. We've been able to see the outside world through the windows in the starting room, and that's it. It is like a really big lingering question, isn't it? And one that I don't think there's a direct answer to. You know, after the Hour of Joy, what happened? People kept working there. How can you keep something like this under wraps? You know, Playtime Co. is a known intellectual property. They have all these toys and everything. People must have known. Even something like the Bigger Bodies Initiative anyway. You know, governments should and could and would have known about that. So I really don't know why there was like virtually no response from any authorities after so many workers died. What is the death toll for the Hour of Joy? Let me look this up real quick. There is literally no answer, but we know hundreds. I mean, how do you not get like investigated after that? This is a really good point. Is it a hot take though? I mean, everyone's gonna think this, right? Well, honestly, I don't know if this is unrelated since I'm struggling to grasp the context. Isaiah, I'm sure you're fine. But Poppy Playtime for me is pretty not good, but not bad. The first 3 chapters were my favourite, and also when I had my own theory that the factory is a purgatory dimension for all souls to suffer an eternal loop of fight and starvation, to share pain with the prototype, who I see as the embodiment of damnation. And chapter 4, I'm a bit mixed about it. I don't want to go into details, but that's all. It's still good, but not as great as chapter 3. And chapter 5 is what I was dissatisfied and disappointed about. I don't know if I was crazy or not, but didn't Mob Entertainment teaser that chapter 5 was going to be more darker and gloomier? And especially now that the prototype's official design is revealed, I loved it, but not enough. I expected an amalgamated horror, a jest of flesh and mechanical mess, but okay, that's all. I'm surprised I messed up saying okay and not just a flesh and mechanical mess. Isn't that nice? This is the first hot take on the prototype design. Obviously, like, the design was hugely mixed. I made 2 videos all about that. I kind of get what you mean. And what I want to look into a bit deeper about this one is how you had your own theory that was disproven. And that's often why mascot horror games go on to have 8, 9, 10 or more installments, is to keep us thinking. Because when we get solid answers, there's less to theorise about. If you look at Five Nights at Freddy's, we're still theorising about the primal, basic elements introduced 12 years ago. The more answers you give, oftentimes there's less to theorise about unless the story keeps going forward. It's true, a lot of the fan theories I found in Poppy Playtime Chapter 1 and 2 have now been discontinued. They've been disproven by Chapter 3, a lot of stuff was. And yet if you have barely any answers, like Five Nights at Freddy's again in my opinion, then nobody is willing to admit that anyone else is right because the evidence pool is so small. When you have a theory like the factory being a purgatory dimension, that's easy to disprove. So there are some theories that still hold water since the beginning. You know, not everything, not every fan theory has been disproven yet. I think when the story continues in the way that Poppy Playtime is, they're more concerned now about tying up loose ends than they are allowing for more theorising the way they used to. I'm at risk of rambling now, but I think you get what I mean, Isaiah. You know, some fan theories survive, some don't. You know, we're on chapter 6 now. They've got to start giving answers and moving the story forward, and they are. People are always going to find ways to theorise about things, you know? Chapter 1 is better than chapter 3, I agree. Edit, the prototype's design is good, but I wish it was more closer to the original chapter 3 version. I want to know what that was. I really want to know what the original version was. We don't know. We seriously do not know what it was. There was like released concept art, there was the Catnap Shrine, which was not based off the official prototype design. I will remind you, it's based off an original version that died between chapter 2 and 3 creatively. There was a lot changing during the development of chapter 4, and the prototype was unfortunately one of those elements. Or fortunately, depending on who you ask. Yeah, I too would have loved to have seen what the prototype looked like. I really would have. maybe one day someone will be able to fully realise what it was like. A lot of people were hoping for an amalgamation of toys like we read before, and I was one of those people. Chapter 3 wasn't really that good. It's hard for me not to side with this one because Chapter 3 is my kind of least favourite, but it wasn't really that good. I mean, tell me more. Bottle Rocket, if you're watching, tell me more. Do you mean in like a storytelling sense, like, you know, the character Ollie was quite divisive? Do you mean in like a location sense when things started to get unrealistic, having this giant underground cavern and play care? Do you mean like in terms of the characters? Did you not like Catnap? Because across the board, Chapter 3 just didn't appeal to me as much as the chapters that came before or after it, so I mean, I will agree with this one, but I do want to hear more, and I want to know what other people think, so go for it. Chapter 5 kinda sucked. So there was a strange change, wasn't there, in the community about how people thought about Chapter 5. You know, I played it when it first came out, I watched live streams the day it came out and everything like that, and people really liked it. People loved the prototype's design sooner than I did, people loved the way the story was going, even if they were a bit annoyed that it wasn't ending with Chapter 5. And then Markiplier played it, and he said, the game isn't good, I'm not playing anymore. And then things changed, and the impression of Chapter 5 went downhill in people's minds. I was there. It practically happened overnight. People went from loving Chapter 5 to, I don't know, maybe they replayed it, or it was recency bias, but people don't like it as much now. I'm not going to agree with this one. I kind of like Chapter 5, even if Chom Chumpkins, or whatever the hell his name is, and his sidekick, they were nothing. They're nothing characters. I mean, Chapter 5 isn't the best. I won't sing its praises all day, but it got enough right to keep me happy. The prototype's design doesn't fit his lore at all, and we have a reply, not far off, wish we could have seen it more closer to the original. Yeah, so like I said, the prototype is a Marmite character, and with something like that, it's a bit dissatisfying to say, some people love it, some people hate it, but the reality of that is, it's the same with every character and every villain. In terms of fitting the lore, I kind of agree. You know, the prototype, we like to think of them as a jester toy who built spider legs for themselves. That's the commonly accepted lore that we all kind of stand by at the moment, is that they began as a little jester toy and then they got a bigger bodies jester toy and it wasn't completed, so they built themselves massive spider legs that are bigger than they are. Then they found ways of weaving in arms of other villains and made themselves a cape with Catnap. And that's our prototype. I mean, I don't know, part of me wishes the prototype was humanoid, so that there was something comparable to the main character, potentially. That could have been quite cool. But then, you know, you think about how many prototype redesigns and fan designs we've seen, so many people have taken this opportunity that the prototype may not fit its lore at all, to make their own. And that's the best thing to come out of this. I kind of agree, not that the prototype's design is bad, but that it doesn't fit his established lore. You know, I would rather have had something that was like half a body, or you know, that the prototype was fully incomplete. I loved seeing earlier on when people thought the prototype was truly just an arm. That could have been cool. But you know, just like a broken animatronic jester down to its torso, or something like that. Because that's more realistic, because they were an abandoned project, than the prototype building giant spider legs for themselves. I don't know, let me know what you think again. Yeah, I've got time for a few more. Yarnaby should have lived until chapter 4537. Yes, I agree. Chapter 1 is the best. Yes, I agree. Gilbert is completely useless. Wasn't sure, I was reading there. Pingus Rider, I think you mean Giblet or Giblet? One of those two. It's not Gilbert. You are right though. They are completely useless. So far. I mean, we end off the chapter with them. They could be worth something soon. But yeah. Gilbert's completely useless. And those are all of the hot takes and unpopular opinions, I'm doing giant air quotes, unpopular opinions, that I'm going to go through in this video. If you have any more, leave them in the comments over in the community tab. I will read through as many as I can. Thank you again to the amazing Kirbyster Plays channel members. Please subscribe, I would love it if you did, that'd be so cool. Bye.